Indiana's Attorney General is celebrating a victory for pro-lifers. Planned Parenthood is dropping its challenge to a law that required pregnant women to view an ultrasound before having an abortion. The 2016 law had been blocked since 2017, and the Supreme Court sent the case back to the appeals court. Okay, turning back to the race for the White House, if Joe Biden wins this November, he will become just the second Catholic elected to the nation's highest office, and his faith has been highlighted as a major part of his campaign. Joining me now on Skype to talk more about the role of faith in politics is Dr. Paul Kengor, author and professor of political science at Grove City College in Pennsylvania. Dr. Kengor, welcome back. So good to see you. So what are your impressions as you've listened to Joe Biden highlight his faith this week and also throughout the campaign?
Well, I'm not surprised, Tracy. And, this has been a controversy with Joe Biden for a long time. And in fact, back in 2008, you'll probably recall he did an interview with Tom Brokaw. And, this rustled some feathers among the bishops and the church, rightly so, when Tom Brokaw said, if I was to come up to you and say, hey, Joe, I'm a fellow Catholic, tell me, when does life begin, right? Does life begin at conception? And Biden gave his kind of famous or infamous statement where he said, well, I know where it begins for me, but as a politician, I can't impose my values on other people. So that was the position that he took back then. And I remember writing a piece on this for Catholic World Report back in the 2008 campaign. And it was Joe Biden they had questioned his bishops, his hometown bishop in Scranton, which was Martino, his bishop in Delaware, which was Michael Saltarelli at the time. And they were both, they said, they held a firm line. They said politicians who have this position on abortion should not present themselves for the Eucharist. So this is an issue that's hounded Joe Biden for a while. And it's going to with Catholics again here in November 2020.
As far as faith overall, are you surprised to see it take such a prominent role in the election? And also, how does it compare to previous presidential elections?
Well, it's fascinating that the last two Catholic nominees for president by the Democrats, you had two JFKs, right? So John F. Kennedy in 1960 and John F. Kerry in 2004. And I think this is really striking, Tracy. JFK won in 1960 in a razor-thin race against Richard Nixon. I think the total difference was like 110,000 votes. They didn't know till early in the morning the next day who actually won. Kennedy won because he won Catholics. In 2004, John Kerry lost because he lost Catholics. And the reason that he lost Catholics in 2004 was precisely because of these moral, social issues like abortion, freedom of conscience. And I'll tell you right now that if Joe Biden loses in November 2020, it'll be because he again loses Catholics over these issues. So the idea that a Catholic nominee, which is something that ought to excite Catholics nationwide, could not win the presidency because he doesn't win Catholics, because instead Catholics vote for the Protestant, as they did with George W. Bush in 2004, that could well happen again. And it'd be quite an irony.
Yeah, and I want to continue on with that. Do you think it's really a political gamble for him to kind of tout his Catholic faith, especially to Catholics? So many of his, as you mentioned, his political positions are contrary to church teaching.
If I was him, I would hush these up as much as possible. And picking Kamala Harris, I was really surprised by that. I thought he would pick Susan Rice, who is much less of a lightning rod. She doesn't elicit the kind of raw emotion that Kamala Harris did. And as we've heard the last couple of weeks, people are reminding us of what Kamala Harris said to John Boisher, who was up for a judicial appointment in December 2018. And she at that time questioned his membership in what she called an all-male society, which was the Knights of Columbus. And asked him, did you know that this all-male society is against a woman's right to choose? And also asked him when he joined the Knights of Columbus in 1993, which would have been, 12 years, over 20-some years before the Obergefell decision, and a few years before the Defense of Marriage Act, which the entire Senate voted in favor of, including almost all Democrats, probably including Joe Biden, by the way. But she asked Boisher, did you know that the Knights of Columbus was against marriage equality? Well, yeah, the Knights of Columbus, this all-male society, is a Catholic organization. So that's going to really hurt Biden with, I think, with Catholic voters, and it should. It really should.
Paul, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you coming on. Dr. Paul Kengor, author and professor of political science at Grove City College, and an author. Thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks, Tracy. Anytime.